Hey everybody, how's it going? So, I figure with all the nonsense that's going on, I kind of just want to comment on a few things and then give you guys a little bit of a history lesson here. So, I find it funny that the ultimate hypocrites, the biggest, most radical supremacists in the entire world, have the nerve to come out against white nationalists. I'll sit here and get attacked by white nationalists all day because I'm consistent. I'm not a hypocrite. People will accuse me of that, but they obviously don't understand my views or haven't watched all my videos. You can't just watch one of my videos and get my whole ideology from that. You just can't. And for those people out there who are doing this, I'm sorry that you're ignorant and you just want to judge me based on one video. That's fine. But the people who actually have seen me from the beginning, most of you know my beliefs and you know that I'm completely against both sides in this. So anyways, who is the biggest hypocrite but a Jew? Think about it. They can go out and force people to condemn white nationalists all day. They have the Jewish mayor over there, right, in Charlottesville, scumbag. Then the Black Panther, scumbag vice mayor. But yet, I want to take this black vice mayor over to Israel. Because you know what they would do in Israel? They would all look at you like you're an alien. Like you don't belong there. Just because of the way you look. Does anybody remember, what was it? I think it was 2013, 2012, I'm not exactly sure, but when there was that big African crisis in Israel, when there was a bunch of people coming up from Africa and trying to get into Israel. You remember what happened? Yeah, well, there was a total blackout in the media because they're controlled by Jews, obviously. But guess what happened in Israel? Well, there were marches of thousands and thousands of people all over, from leftists to rightists to whatever you want to classify them as, just Jews in general, atheists, non-atheists, who literally went to the streets smashing black people's property, screaming racial slurs at them, calling them the N-word, screaming at them, sometimes in some cases beating them, telling them to get out of their country. This belongs to the Jews. But yet the mainstream media doesn't say a word about that. Think about that, people. Think just for 1 second. Why is that? Why is there silence on the mainstream media when it comes to Israel and their racism, quote unquote? Oh, that's right. I forgot. They control the media. Otherwise, if they didn't control the media, why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't the leftists, quote unquote, who everybody claims, like Alex Jones claims, the leftists control the media? If the leftists control the media, why wouldn't they be screaming bloody murder every time Israel does this to any group? So like I said, the Jews will and are the biggest hypocrites in the entire world. They will be, and they are. So that being said, let's enjoy this history lesson. So I just kind of want to go through a sort of rudimentary background in my education on history. I started out in Vietnam history. I really enjoyed doing that. Because what happened was, one day, I just decided to sit down and I thought about what I need to do with my life. This was when I was like 21 years old, so this is a good while ago, almost 5-6 years ago. So I sat down and I thought, you know, what have I enjoyed throughout all my life? Going through school, what is it? Is there something that I could do to make a career out of, whatever? And I always liked history. I always got amazing grades in history. I don't think I ever got below like a 3.5 grade point average in history. It was just so easy to me. It came naturally. And I never really, though, had a deep understanding of history or a passionate sort of impetus to study history. It was just sort of something that I was good at and I kind of enjoyed. But the first thing I did was I studied Vietnam. And then after I studied Vietnam, I went to the Cold War, and which is so hard to understand if you don't know the other side. And the Cold War is just like World War II. It's a giant quagmire. So then I went from the Cold War and I actually went back to the Civil War because I figured, you know what? The United States was involved in the Cold War, obviously Vietnam. I really wanted to learn mainly the history of the United States. I studied a little bit of the Revolutionary War here and there in between, because I was kind of really trying to focus on United States history. To be honest, I didn't care about any history of any other country. But that changed, obviously, when I went to World War II, which I can say to you, if you really want to do real research in World War II, you're going to have to sit down for minimum 3 to 5 years in order to understand even slightly anything that happened in World War II. It's that convoluted. It is that much of an enigma. I am not kidding you. Back in the day when I first started learning, I thought, oh man, I know this, know all the general events from 33, because basically it's amazing that in World War II they only teach you about German history when you really have to understand the Soviet history first. And the fact that they wanted to bring the revolution to Europe and then to the world. And until you know that, you don't even know the context of World War II, about why it happened, about how the National Socialists were a direct response to the Soviets, the Bolsheviks, the Marxists. So anyways, I don't want to keep digressing. I kind of want to get you guys in this history lesson. So this is just pointing out, again, the hypocrisy of the mainstream media. They go out there and they edify Abraham Lincoln like he is this great man who's just stood up for the rights of black people and minorities in general, and he wanted freedom for everyone, right? Well, the truth couldn't be more diametrically opposed to what they teach you on the mainstream media. And I actually know that this site is correct, even though it's a .government site, because I actually read somebody who photocopied the transcripts of these debates, and I actually read them physically, and it was even in a book too I read back in the day. They actually had pictures of it as well. So I know for sure they may have edited a few things in this, but it's pretty close to being what I remember reading. And basically this was the Lincoln-Douglas debates, and if anybody doesn't know this, one of the main arguments in these debates was that Douglas accused Lincoln of almost sort of pandering to black people, in the sense that for some reason, Douglas actually accused Lincoln of maybe, I don't know, wanting to be with black people, stuff like that. So I just want to read this little part right here. It's not really a little part, but I'll try to go through it as fast as I can so you guys can sort of get it in context and everything. So, this is Lincoln's speech. He said, "Ladies and gentlemen, it will be very difficult for an audience so large as this to hear distinctly what a speaker says, and consequently it is important that as profound silence be preserved as possible. While I was at the hotel today, an elderly gentleman called upon me to know whether I was really in favor of producing a perfect equality between the Negroes and the white people." Parentheses, great laughter. AKA the audience laughed at that because they thought it was such a joke. While I had not proposed myself on this occasion to say much on that subject, yet as the question was asked to me, I thought I would occupy perhaps 5 minutes in saying something in regard to it. I will say then that I am, nor ever have been, in favor of bringing about in any way the social and political equality of the white and black races. The audience applauses. That I am, nor ever have been in favor of making voters or jurors of Negroes, nor of qualifying them to hold office, nor to intermarry with white people. And I will say in addition to this that there is a physical difference between the white and black races, which I believe will forever forbid the two races living together on terms of social and political equality. And inasmuch as they cannot so live, while they do remain together, their notion of superior and inferior. And I, as much as any other man, am in favor of having the superior position assigned to the white race. I say upon this occasion I do not perceive that because the white man is to have the superior position, the Negro should be denied everything. I do not understand that because I do not want a Negro woman for a slave, I must necessarily want her for a wife. And laughter. My understanding is that I can just let her alone. I am now in my 50th year, and I certainly have never had a black woman for either a slave or a wife. And let me go down to this part. I will add to this that I have never seen, to my knowledge, a man, woman, or child who was in favor of producing a perfect equality, social and political, between Negroes and white men. Did you understand that? Did you hear that? And then what's the common response to this? Because, like I said, I studied the Civil War, so I wanted to hear what the other side has to say about this. You know what? Oh, Lincoln had a change of heart. Oh, he had a change of heart in less than 5 years. Now, if Lincoln was in his 20s or his 30s, maybe even his late 30s, I could see that. But how many people in the entire world do you know of when they're well past their prime and well set in their ways, do a 180 on something they were immensely passionate about? Very few, right? If any. So, how does this go along with their mainstream narrative that Lincoln was the great emancipator and he saved all the black people? Oh, that's right, it doesn't, because all they do is simply dismiss this and say, oh, he changed his mind. Really? Because I believe Lincoln was acting completely consistent with what he said. Lincoln did not try to allow the black people to vote. Right? Before he was assassinated, he never said, hey guys, now that this war is over, you know, let's give them the right to vote, let's get them citizenship. None of that happened when Lincoln was alive. Granted, it was a short term after the war. But anyways, there's no speech that he made or even sort of semblance of any of a change of heart. So I just wanted to show this to the few people out there who really haven't studied the Civil War at all. Because a lot of people really don't. They just listen to the mainstream media on the Civil War and don't really understand that it's way more complicated than that. But yeah, so thank you guys for all the support. Like I said, I'm going to get attacked by white nationalists. I'm going to get attacked by Black Lives Matter, Antifa, all of them. So at the end of the day, they're all pathetic. They're all scumbags. I don't really care, to be honest. I'm not picking a side because I don't believe in either side. You know, just because the white nationalists aren't as vicious and disgusting and hateful as the other side. See, that's what people don't get. The white nationalists see themselves as almost like the avant-garde of humanity. They see themselves as the Winston Churchill. Because Winston Churchill, if you don't know anything about Winston Churchill, read a few books about Winston Churchill's life. He saw himself as the superior intellect. And he believed, I'm not kidding you, he believed sincerely that because he was supremely intellectual, that he had an obligation to take care of the non-intellectual. The peasant, if you say, the peons. He felt it was his moral obligation to guide them and to lead them. Because you guys are so pathetic and stupid, you guys can't just do anything on your own. That's what he believes, and that's what the white nationalists do believe. If you if you really boil it down, they believe that the European history is the best history in the entire world, and that without European history, we wouldn't be doing anything right now. We'd just be sitting around in caves, I guess, or doing whatever else. But anyways, it's all nonsense. And yes, the BLM and the Antifa are worse than white nationalists will ever be. But like I said, I just want to end it there because I don't want to go on another tangent. So thank you guys for all your support. I'm going to include this link in the video description. And yeah, thanks again.